What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. And at this point, I think it's safe to finally say Vincent Chansard has officially put the One Piece anime fully on his back and is honestly carrying it. Now, Vincent Chansard is somebody who's had his fingerprints all over the One Piece anime recently. He was there for Luffy versus Kaido. He was there for pretty much all the big moments in Wano, right? He was there for like Zoro versus King, and he was also there most recently in Egghead as well, with doing the big Luffy versus Lucci fight that everybody loved. And now we have this episode here. Now this episode is so important because for the longest time, ever since One Piece came off of that big Kuma flashback that lasted for a while, the anime has been in a little bit of a rough spot because ever since that flashback ended, we had weird pacing issues, bad CGI in with like the Kuma clones. There was just a lot of weird stuff going on with the One Piece anime, and it made me think: is everything with the Gorosei not going to look as good as I wanted it to? Because I was worried for a little bit that the Gorosei weren't going to be executed properly because of everything that had been going on with the One Piece anime in terms of its production. Well, I was vastly incorrect because I should have known that the reason why that stuff wasn't looking as good is because a lot of resources and talent were being allocated to the Gorosei's arrival because this is one of the best episodes I think I have ever seen of One Piece. I haven't felt this way about an episode of One Piece since 1015. 1015 has been the standard for One Piece for years now. So the fact that we have the most recent episode, 1144, we got this episode, and this is straight up just like a movie from the opening shots. Like when Luffy is first coming into contact with the Gorosei, and you see like this whole 2D art style where you see him like being bathed in sunlight and the Gorosei start appearing. I thought the Gorosei appearing was going to be like CGI. I thought for sure that was going to be a CGI moment because this is a big moment in the manga, right? These Gorosei like tower over everything. They're one of the biggest like threats that we have ever seen in the One Piece manga. So I honestly thought they were probably going to be 3D because I didn't even know like how you would go about like drawing them in 2D. So I thought they were going to be like 3D prints or something like that. No, they, they are all in 2D. Everything in this episode is 2D. I don't know how long this episode probably took to make, but this episode probably took months. Like this was probably the episode that when the anime went on hiatus for 6 months, they probably, and honestly, this is probably what happened. They probably got everybody together to work on this episode specifically in order to like bring Vincent's storyboard to life. Because, like, dude, Vincent storyboarding this, I believe that's what he did. I believe he storyboarded. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he storyboarded this. This is one of like the best, like, just terms of like set, not even set piece, but like just animation in general. Like you could tell this is a Vincent Chansard episode. The way everything is like everything, the way everything was created, man. Oh my god, this is what I think that they were utilizing the break for. Honestly, like everybody thought it was going to be the Kuma flashback, and yeah, there were great episodes in the Kuma flashback, but I think it was all so they could get this episode right. This 23-minute episode right to feel like a movie, to make you feel the sense of dread and just despair when the Gorosei touch down on Egghead. Like I honestly felt like how I felt when I was reading it in the manga. I felt that sense of fear and dread when the Gorosei pulled up for the first time. So the way that they were able to just nail that, man, I love that so much. And then like when they show up too, and Luffy, like we got an anime original moment of Luffy just like running around them, running through them. You're able to feel the sense of scale that the Gorosei bring to the anime in just that one little like minute cut of like Luffy running around all of them and having to dodge their attacks for a little bit. And then we get the classic shot of Luffy standing strong jumping in place, and all the Gorosei are just lined up. That was honestly better than in the manga, because in the manga they kind of just show up. The anime gives them like their own little like title cards and shit. Like we get to see them do a few attacks on Luffy, like I said, and then we get the Gorosei introduction shot with Luffy like looking on at his new threat that he now has to face. And I was moved, man. That is one of the best things that the anime has literally ever done. I could not believe what I was watching, man. But moving away from Luffy for a little bit, bro, the Zoro stuff was insane, bro. So to put it into perspective, Zoro versus Lucci is really not all that in the manga, right? Zoro versus Lucci is kind of a really short fight. It's not. It doesn't even really get a lot of focus in the manga. It kind of is just like a really quick fight that you honestly kind of forget about sometimes. Like it honestly even felt like Oda forgot about it, like during the initial run of Egghead. But man, with Toei, like you would have thought this is one of the biggest fights in all of One Piece. Because tell me why, like a fight where like Zoro was doing pretty much like nothing during it, you get to see Zoro doing all sorts of crazy shit that honestly he wasn't even moving like this, like fighting King. Like Toei gave him like anime original shit, bro. That like honestly, I love Zoro. I love Zoro as much as I love Sanji. But bro, the Toei kind of like favoritism for Zoro in that moment was honestly very funny. I liked it a lot because like I don't care about the Zoro Sanji like debate stuff. I just thought this was funny because I could tell a lot of people on Twitter probably weren't gonna like this, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was very cool. Like the stuff that they were able to do with Zoro in that episode creatively and like from an animation standpoint. Honestly, some of Zoro's best moments that I've ever seen. This rivals the Final King episode, and honestly, Zoro versus Lucci might beat Zoro versus King solely because Zoro versus King really only had that one episode that was phenomenal, right? That was Vincent's best work to date at that point. But the problem with Zoro versus King is that every episode before that, what that focused on Zoro versus King looked horrible. Like their segments always looked bad because all the stuff was being allocated to that final fight. But with Zoro versus Lucci, there's like 3 episodes for this fight that honestly all look great in terms of like animation cuts. The first one, I think there was one that came a little bit before the Kuma flashback, and then now this one right here. Like Zoro got the absolute best treatment for his fight with Lucci here. And honestly, this is good for Lucci too, because Lucci is a character that it falls victim to how One Piece was made before, right? Like everything that happened for him in Enies Lobby versus Luffy, like that was horrible, right? How Lucci was kind of like treated during that arc. So I saw the Egghead anime adaptation as their way of redeeming Lucci. Like these fights that he's had with Luffy and now Zoro are pretty much the anime's way of saying, hey, Lucci is actually a really cool character. Don't sleep on him. So I like that a lot. And honestly, Zoro versus Lucci is one of the best things that's ever happened in the Egghead anime at this point. And then finally, we got Dory and Broggy pulling up and saving Luffy. Honestly, bro, that is some great like Elbaf foreshadowing. If you know, you know. And bro, when this episode ended though, I haven't been this sad seeing an episode of One Piece end in a very long time. This is one of the best things that One Piece has ever done. This was an event, man. I don't know when and this episode is going to be topped. Like it's probably going to take a very long time. Like this was 10-15 quality. So I'm really wondering how long it's going to take. But I'm looking forward to being around for the ride to seeing when this episode could be topped. But I think that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you guys think. How did you guys feel about this monumental episode of One Piece? Did you like it as much as me, or did you not like it as much? Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm going to talk to you guys next time. Bye.